Alrighty, so recording is started. So first thing we get into the game is taking a look at team compositions. Bubble's probably going to be going on hog most of the time here, and then with the enemy team comp, we just got to be aware that they are on a dive, so we might need to be helping our supports out and peeling for them with bubbles or stuff like that.
Yeah, I've been trying to work on that a fair bit more, like keeping an idea of where everybody is. I'm really bad for that, like just literally just not turning around.
Oh, whoops! Didn't mean to click off you there.
Yeah. The first round, we don't get rolled. Oh, we do get rolled a bit. It's a bit.
Alrighty, so first off, we're gonna go over some target priorities. So, um, just if this is something I said last time, just let me know. But with
Yeah.
the people that we're supposed to be shooting, so most of the time you're not gonna want to focus tanks. So tanks have 3 times the health as squish your target, so at 3 times the health of a DPS or a support. And on top of that, tanks also have less value most of the time statistically. So DPS do more damage, supports do more healing. So tanks, their purpose is to create space for the DPS and supports. So and they also have tanking abilities that can make them harder to kill. And on top of that, Mercy, like for example here, Mercy and Baptiste can both pocket a monkey better than they can pocket each other because they can't heal themselves super easily. So
Yep.
really when it comes to who we should be looking at, most of the time it's not going to be tanks if we have an equal opportunity to go on to other things, or we can even if it's not equal opportunity, we should be seeking out the easier kills rather than looking at the tanks, right? So there are times where we will shoot at tanks. So if tanks are the only thing that we can see or shoot at, if tanks are low, if tanks are out of position, but if a fight's breaking out here, we really want to be looking for targets that aren't going to be super difficult to kill. So Genji, who here for example, um, focus to squish your targets. Here we kind of focus on the ball and the monkey. You'll see. Right, so our attention's kind of focused too much on the tanks there.
Okay. Yep.
And then that means that we don't really get much accomplished because they just end up getting healed up and pocketed through it. No, I can't recall. Are we with your hero pool? Are you mainly just a Zarya player?
So main heroes will play like Sigma, Zarya, Brigitte, Moira,
Mm.
and I play a bit of a main Genji, but mostly tanks and support. So I don't know.
Alrighty. So first off, up against the dive, Zarya isn't the best character because of the fact
Yep.
that it's harder to get energy against the dive, and a lot of the times it'll be hard because you don't have crowd control so someone like a character like Sigma might be slightly better because you have the rock available mainly. And then you just provide a little bit more protection for your team than Zarya can, because it's very difficult to get energy while you're up against a dive. So with our bubbles mainly, and rather than trying to soak up spam damage, because there's not going to be much spam damage. The only people on their team that can do spam damage is Genji, Echo, and Baptiste. So unless we see Echo launching in a bunch of sticky bombs at somebody, like us, like just happened with us, you probably shouldn't be using our bubbles early fights here. We're mainly going to want to save our bubbles for when they dive in on our teammates. Alrighty.
Okay.
So bubble like that on Roadhog isn't going to get you much. when we might want to use it instead when they're on top of BAP, because then we get tanking value out of it as well as energy because they're all diving them. Alrighty, so we kind of do the same thing with ourselves here, where we just kind of pop bubble when there's nobody on top of us, right? They dive in up top and then we bubble, and then that means that we don't really get any energy, we don't get any tanking value, and then now they're about to hard engage in a couple seconds here, and we're just not gonna have our own personal bubble available, right? So now they're coming in with Blade, they're all coming in here, and we just don't have our personal bubble to keep ourselves alive, right? So when we're up against different compositions, this is why the first thing that we do every single game should be pay attention to the composition. So what is our team running? What's the
Yep.
enemy team running? Because different compositions will have different playstyles up against them. When we're up against the dive on Zarya, we need to be changing how we're using our bubbles, how we're using our gameplay, so that we can better utilize bubbles and better get tanking, because here we're using our bubbles too early, and that means now we don't actually have bubbles for when the fight starts.
I will never surrender. Get in there. Give me your best shot.
Okay, now that's an okay bubble because we do see the echo spamming in, and
Barriers
so those bubbles are all right. Yep, we just got 80 energy. That's really good. Probably shouldn't look to try to contest that.
Soldier 76. That's all we've got.
Alrighty, right now we want to be looking to play aggressive because we are up a bunch of players. Make sure, dude. Last time that we talked about watching kill feed and kind of knowing how when the fight's won or lost.
Yeah. You sent me through some stuff like two down, sort of back out sort of thing, 3 down, etc.
Yep, 1 to 2. It's kind of goes 1 to 2 is an advantage or disadvantage. 2 to 3 is a won or lost fight. So here, when we get when they only have 2 people alive, right? So it's a 3v2. All right. So actually, we do have some teammates down in spawn. It's a 3v2 in this scenario. We can probably look to play just a little bit aggressive because we do have the high energy. We have our teammates with us.
Barriers on you. Maximum charge.
Alrighty.
Barrier activated.
Now we want to be looking to back out. Hopefully, we'll be looking to use our grab very soon. We don't hold on to it.
Yeah, I'm really bad at words. That's something I really have to work on.
Огонь по готовности. Maximum charge.
Alrighty, so when we're looking to use the grab, we're trying to launch it in between as many people as we can get. So when we're firing it, right, we're looking around us and on our screen,
Огонь по готовности.
and when we're tossing grab, we're trying to
they're
pay
all
attention to
behind.
like where is everyone, right? We could grab
Yep.
at our feet right now and get more people. We could walk forwards and grab right here and get more people. We have to look for clumps of people that are together. We can't just toss it in, right? So this comes down to awareness. Is the big thing is pay attention to where the enemy team is, and then you'll be able to land that grab much easier. So make sure you're really using your eyes and paying attention to when you're looking for grab. Where is the enemy team at, right? Right now, we're trying to just back up and try to maybe keep our energy up so that we're not dying with our energy. Here, we're poking too close in.
Covered.
We're not backing up all the way, right? This is a lost fight situation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus 3. We're half HP. We want to try to back up and get out with our 90 energy because, like or 98 energy, right? Because like we've discussed in the past, high energy is super valuable, and if we're letting ourselves get killed with it, that's a real big no-no because we could have been coming back into this fight with 70 energy versus 0 energy, and that really makes a big difference in the amount that we can do. So here
Yep.
we are backing up, but then we just kind of chill here. First off, did we talk about positioning last time?
A little bit. It was more about bubbles and stuff like that.
A little bit.
But yeah.
Alrighty, then we can go over that now. We go over that now. Boop.
Control link
So I have a sneeze coming on,
You're right, man. You're right. It's all good.
and then it went away. All right. So essentially how positioning works. So positioning is the usage of cover, whereas that's good positioning, right? The usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover, where there is no cover. So if we're standing right here, and this is an enemy team right all along there, and they all start ulting, they all start shooting at us, it takes us 1, 2, 3 seconds to get behind cover, where now they cannot shoot at us because there's a solid wall in the way, right? So now we are in a safe position, because then now, like, high noon, bomb, ultimates can get to us, shots can get to us, so we're safe. But in that time it took us to get here, we died because it took us too long. Therefore, right there, there's an absence of cover, and therefore is bad positioning, right?
Yeah.
So whereas here, right, we can right click the same, we can grab the same, we can bubble the same, we can do a lot of the same things from here, except for now we have the option to duck behind cover in about half of a second rather than 3 whole seconds, which means that we have a lot more survivability against those ultimates, against people just shooting at us when we're low HP. So same thing, if we're taking a wide angle here, this is much worse than if we were over by the wall, right? So we want to make sure that we're hugging corners, hugging walls. There's a lot of different types of cover, right? So we can use like a slope, right? In CS,
Yep.
not like ants. We can use pillars, right? So in between each of our shots here, we can be looking to duck in. We can reload behind cover. We can, when we're low HP, we can get behind cover. Corners again, right? We can use objects like so, right? This, you can use like kind of the payload like this, right? Pillars, corners, 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 or doorway. And then that's just how you can be looking to take less damage from people. Now, we go back and to this replay. Actually, what was this? It was Numbani, okay.
Traveling to Numbani. Ready.
Ready, so we come back here, right? First off, look at our positioning. And
Yep.
so we're kind of in the middle of the pathway, right? Pretty much on payload maps, most of this pathway is just going to be out in the open. This is if you're standing in the middle of that, it's not going to be good most of the time, right? So instead, we want to be looking to walk right side, and then now we put people out of our line of sight, and they can no longer shoot at us, right? So
Yep.
first off, we're out in the open. Second off, we kind of instead of just continuously backing up, we decide to like kind of walk back in, right? And we kind of stick here when we're half HP trying to get out, and then guess what happens is then they just kill us. Right? And we kind of, instead of just going like this and going right side back up, right side back up, right back until our team gets back comes back to the fight, right? Which the team's about to come back to the fight. We just got we still have our hog alive. We have Moira. Pretty much, if we just stayed alive here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people back in the fight, right? So if we
Yep.
backed up there, we'd be coming out with 6 people. But now we ended up staggering ourselves, and we lost all our energy, right? So that puts us, our team, and us at a significant disadvantage, right? So instead of backing up all the way, we just kind of did this, where we walked backwards a little bit, then we went back in, then we walked backwards, then we went back in, then we walked backwards, but then we walked back in, right? Where we're doing this like stutter step backwards, which just means that we end up staying in the fight much longer, and then we lose all our energy. We kind of die right as the fight's starting. So we end up staggering because now the whole team's dead when we could have been there to, have an impact.
Yep.
Barriers on you. Go. Is that all we've got? Round 1. Together.
Alrighty.
This is probably the better.
Last human on
This is
Earth.
the better round sort of thing.
Bring it. That's more like it. Allow me. Get in there.
Alrighty, so we got a decent bit of ult charge to start off there.
Allow me to prepare the barrier activate. Let's go. Maximum charge.
I should really be backing in further, shouldn't I? Yeah, that corner.
To be honest, you're fine there. You maybe at most you want to be here, but we were able to push forward because we had our personal bubble available to back up. So you can be there's a lot of things that affect aggression, right? So the reason why kill feed, right? We've talked about kill feed. 1 to 2 people is advantage slash disadvantage. 2 to 3 is won or slash lost. The reason why the 2 there is the middleman is because kills isn't the only thing that affects aggression. There is how much health does each team have, which team has better positioning, which team has more ultimates, which team is in the process of using more ultimates. For some reason, my Steam is opening. I accidentally.
You're alright.
Um, so there's a lot of things that affect aggression. Do we have our cooldown available? If we have our personal bubble, we can be a little bit more aggressive, right? Whereas if we don't have that, okay, trying to close out of this. What the heck? All right, it's gone. So if we have our bubble available, we can look to play more aggressive, or at least a little bit more aggressive. And then once it's down, we need to look to play a little bit more passive. So that I think that was personally fine. Just remember again with our. Oh. Remember again with kind of our priority targets, we want to be focusing those squishier targets, right? Like the Genji who's just jumping around. Who's Zarya, we can absolutely shred a Genji because he doesn't have any, like, he can't deflect us. A lot of times he's gonna be out in the open. Rather than trying to shred the tanks, who here you're gonna see, like, even though we're 100 energy Zarya, and which is one of the best damage dealers in the game, we're gonna be like damaging a Zarya here in a second for like when she's 1 HP, which is fine because she's 1 HP. I like that we're trying to damage her here because we're capitalizing on a low target, but she just gets pocketed, right? Both supports pocket her, and then now she's not, because our team didn't heal damage her with us. Now she's a bad target. We want to look for somebody else, right? As soon as she starts getting pocketed like that. When you're looking through this, look to use right clicks as the damage boost will damage boost the right clicks, but it will not damage boost any of our primary left click fire.
Ah, okay. Right, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because it's only projectiles. It's not going to damage boost your left click through it. Okay. When we are this high of energy, right? Anytime we're high energy, so like about 70 plus, 100, like every single bubble we use needs to be used for tanking purposes, right? Because otherwise it's just a wasted bubble, right? So if we land the bubble on the more there, what are we getting? 9 energy, and that's not really going to make a big difference in the like kind of long run. We really need to be looking to use these bubbles for kind of the more prevalent tanking purposes of maybe giving Hog a bubble if he's like trying to push forwards, using bubble for if people are about to die, when they start using ultimates, like the enemy their Echo here is about to get a grab, so we might need bubbles for the grab, right? Very, very nice. Okay, there is just a little bit too much aggression. We backed up. We got to pick. Alright, so let's look at this. Alright, we got to pick. Okay, kind of assessing the fight. We were watching kill feed. We are a 4v4, right? So we're even, yet we play a little too aggressive when they have first off, they have a window of it up, right? So we're going to be taking a ton of damage to that. We are down half of our HP, right? And we're walking straight up through main, right? So the big thing here is that, and then on top of that, our team's also backing up, right? And our team's not with us. So there's a bunch of stuff that's stacked up against us that we need to be paying attention to. We're walking through a bad choke point here. We are, our team's not with us. They have a kind of barrier, or what do you call that? The window up here, and then we are low HP. So all these things stack up to not being a very good idea here. Okay, so Now, I think it'd be a good idea to maybe talk about. Are you familiar with the term no man's land?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly where I am right now.
Yep. Did we talk about that last time? Or
Not
no?
really, not
No.
really.
But yeah, okay. So you still get the idea, right? No man's land
Mm,
is any long extended area where there's no cover, and pretty much on payload maps, that's just going to be the whole track here, right? If you look at any of this track, there's just no cover pretty much anywhere as long as you're standing in the middle of this. So these are no man's lands, especially something like this, right? This isn't necessarily a choke point because it doesn't a choke point funnels you, right? A choke point would be more like something where I don't even there's not too many chokes. This is more of like a choke point up here, right? This area right
yeah,
there is
we
a
have
choke
to come
point.
through the stairwell.
Yep.
Yep.
A choke point is a funnel. No man's land is similar to a choke point. It's just any long stretch of space where there's no cover. So on this point, uh, typically you're gonna want to avoid no man's lands. So here, this is probably the worst possible direction that we can look to push.
Yep.
A lot of the times, either you want to take high ground to get the high ground advantage and push the enemy team off the high ground, or if our objective is just to go to point, we can just run underneath them, and then now we have bypassed one, this is more of a surprise advantage because they can't really see us coming as easily. Second off, we pretty much just end up straight on the point without having to go through this long open no man's land, right? We're behind cover the entire time we're walking in through there. So most of the time you're not going to want to push up through main because you can see how difficult it is even if we are 100 energy. It's just
Yep.
difficult because this is not good positioning on our part or a good push angle on our part. So a lot of the times, first off, you're not going to want to push through this no man's land if you have other options because there's 4 options here, right? You have right side, bottom, high, all the way left side, right?
Yep.
Most of the time, if you have the option, don't take the option where you have to push through this no man's land or choke point. But if you're forced to walk through a choke point, like for example, it's something like this, right? This is more of this is one that you're almost forced to go unless you try to send your whole team high ground. You want to do your best to hug cover, like kind of hug walls, right? Because if we're wide peeking left here, right? Look at how much more visibility there is for them. They shoot at you. There's a lot more time to walk back to cover. Whereas if we're right here on this corner hugging this wall, there's a lot less time to get behind the nearest cover, right? So
Yep.
as we're pushing in here, we want to make sure that we're hugging this right side, right? That means that there's less people on this right side who can see us, right? If we're peeking this wide left angle, Baptiste, Mercy, right? 4 people can see us. We hold right side, now only 2 people can see us, right? We also have access
Okay.
to the health pack, to this room that X's cover, right? So we want to make sure that we're not wide peeking this. First off, we're not even taking this angle, but we're not wide peeking and we're looking to hug cover more often, right? So far, just pathing kind of mistakes and
Barrier is on you. Go.
yeah, that's probably the big thing there. Pathing and then positioning and making sure that we're in the right spot.
That's more like it.
When we're actually shooting at something, we do have good tracking, so there's not much of an issue when it comes to mechanics with our left click. I would like to see maybe right clicks. Just I think we miss a lot of our right clicks, and it just ends up being
I gotta
very.
yeah, I do have to practice that one. But
Mm,
I
yeah.
practice my tracking like most days, but yeah, I gotta
Mm.
practice that.
Barrier is on you. Ready for battle. Get in there,
An expedient solution.
Good right click.
Injured again.
Lifting off. Barrier activated.
Objective A captured.
Ready for battle. Charging up.
Yeah, you're just gonna wanna like just look for right click through that.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
realize. I thought it was damage application to
Barrier
everything.
activated.
No, it's only specific things. So, like for example, like
Yeah.
Reinhardt swinging through that, it's not going to damage amp that. It's not going to damage amp. Hog hook. There's a bunch of things that it's not going to damage amp. Um, let's see, like Symmetra beam, it's not going to damage amp. Genji dash, right? There's a lot of
Yeah.
primary fires, but then also just abilities. So here, look, can you maybe identify real quick what is the mistake that we make here that's probably going to result in us dying?
They have been revived.
Or probably being standing in front of the payload right there, and I should have
Uh,
been behind in
right.
the corner.
So we kind of completely tunnel vision in on the Genji who's blading
Yeah.
and forget about the other 5 people who are actively shooting us in the back, right? So
Yep.
with Genji here, we don't need to be too afraid of him. He's being damage boosted. He doesn't have a nano, so first off, he's gonna take multiple swings to kill you. I'm pretty sure if he doesn't have any damage boost, it might actually take 3 swings from to kill Zarya. I know it takes 2 swings even with a damage boost. So you can basically just run straight at the Genji, right? He's not a big danger here because he doesn't have the damage boost and he's also not going to have the same level of damage reduction because he doesn't have the nano boost of it on him. And then here we just kind of we run away from him and walk backwards into the enemy team, right? So that's kind of the big issue there.
I am still in the fight. I cast the spell. Barrier activated.
Okay, good bubble.
Repairing the damage.
Right now we're looking to get aggressive. They are down 2 people.
I will. Barrier is on.
Mobility increased.
Give me your best shot.
Get into position.
Go. Charging up.
Really put some thought into these bubbles, right? Think about like, just first off, think about the LOS of these, right? So when we bubble the Moria, for example, on their team, who can be shooting at Moria?
Yeah, it's the Echo who's turned to
What
flash
the
up on
one
the
Echo, and we're not even certain the Echo is shooting at the Moria, right? And she wasn't shooting at the Moria, right? So then with the next bubble, right, in a second here, look at this next one that we use on our teammate here.
Baptiste, I think, is it?
Okay, who on their team can see Baptiste here?
Somewhere we got Ryan. I can't quite see who's in front of him. Yes, that's Ryan. Yeah, just Ryan.
Just Reinhardt, and is he within range of Reinhardt whereas Reinhardt can swing at him?
Yeah, no, not at all.
Right. So we got to pay attention to these things, right? How a very very big indication of am I going to get value out of this bubble is how many people can actually see him, right? Who's actually shooting or looking at this person? Because even if, let's say, for example, right, we have a teammate right here, right now, 3 people can theoretically see him, but let's say we have somebody back here, are they looking at this person?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Sorry, I'm did say it.
you're good.
Yeah.
No, they cannot
So
see him, right? So
no.
even though they have line of sight on him, so if they turned around here, they would be able to see him. Because they're turned around, none of them can be actively shooting at the person. So a bubble on this person is not going to get value. So when we're thinking about our bubbles, we want to be using them when multiple people are looking at that person, right? Or when you see big abilities coming in, ultimates coming in, right? Right. We might have gone over this last time, but we want to be looking to get a value out of tanking as well as energy, because a lot of times when we use bubbles for tanking, we're also going to get energy in turn. Reinhardt lands a charge, we save their lives, we get energy out of it. Zarya grabs, we save everyone. We kind of negate a bunch of damage, and we get a lot of energy out of it, right? So we can be looking to use our bubbles a little bit more for tanking, and we gotta really make sure that we're paying attention to. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say this isn't the greatest example. When I've been playing like better than in this match, I've noticed when I have been doing that correctly, like through a majority of the game, my average energy ends up being a lot higher than
Yeah.
normal.
Mhm.
So like my average energy before was like mid 30s, and for the
Mm.
last week it's been like about 50,
Hmm.
55 sort of thing.
And if you have you felt a difference in the amount of impact that you have because you've gone up that 20%, like that 20 energy difference?
I do spend a lot, like I spend a lot less time below like 40 energy,
Mm.
so I'm a lot more. So I feel like I'm able to at least do more if I have to, if you know what I mean, like have an impact that sort of way.
Yeah, which a lot of time, you have to be looking to actively get that impact, right? It's not really a if I have to, because you're always gonna have to. And ranked in a ranked environment, you have to be the one carrying, or else you're just not gonna win games. And that's kind of the flat out how it works is you're not gonna end up climbing if you're not the one making yourself climb, because you're the only consistent factor. If
Yep.
if you didn't do just your job and that's it, you're just going to continuously sit at your rank because the enemy team isn't going to carry you. They're gold for a reason. It's not like all of a sudden every single player in the game is just going to get better, and then now they just kind of automatically boost you up to platinum, unless you're having an impact in your gameplay and you're the one carrying. You're not going to climb, right? So we need to make sure that we're looking for that active, I guess, role in our carrying. So when we have 100 energy, it's not just like, oh yeah, I have 100 energy for if I need to carry, right? When we have that 100 energy, it's okay, I need to use this to carry now, right? So you really gotta, I guess, the mindset thing there is just remember you have to be the one that carry the games. Alrighty, I like the aggression here. Really like it since they are down a bunch of people. Look to just keep it up. Righty.
I shouldn't be there.
Yep, leaving cover
I
a
could have
little
gone
bit.
for, yeah.
Yeah, here we're trying to take a sniper duel with Widow. Maybe not the best idea. And then on top of that, you see how we do what I told you not to do, and we kind of wide peek and we go left side. Where now really we're walking super far on the open, whereas maybe right here might be a little bit better. All right, so imagine if we got hooked by a hog here, we'd be in a whole lot of trouble.
I was just about to say
Yep.
I should have died to that roadhog there.
Your best shot.
And if it was with, like the thing is, like if it's where like I normally play like 27, 2800, then yeah, I would have been dead. I would have been dead then.
Fire in the hole.
The payload has reached the
Ready for battle. Barriers on you.
When we're firing off these right clicks, a lot of the time it just kind of feels like it's just very spammy. Like the thing is, it doesn't feel like we put any brain power into it. So with something that I'd like to see you do that can help you, or kind of the in your gameplay can help you land more of these right clicks, is look at where they're landing. Right, when we're firing off multiple in a row, look at where
payload has
this
reached
shot lands, right? And if we see it lands in the middle of Zarya and Mercy, right, then now we have a choice, right? We saw where that went. So if we're trying to hit Zarya, we go to the left. If we try to hit Mercy, we go to the right. So you can adjust your crosshair based off of where these shots are landing, right? Maybe it was too short, so we have to look up more. Maybe it was too far, so we have to look down more. Okay, if we want to go more to the left, we look more to the left. If we want to go to the right, look more to the right. But a lot of times it just seems like we kind of just like hold down right click and just don't really put much thought into how we're aiming it. We just want to make sure that when we're firing these out, we can adjust off of each individual shot. So pay attention to where they're landing so that we can hit the next ones better. Alrighty, so we have Graph, probably gonna be looking to use it here.
Огонь по готовности. Огонь по готовности. That's the power of interaction. Escorting the payload. Ready for battle. Feel the gravity.
Alrighty, so with our grab, there, just be careful. A lot of the times, you are gonna want to look to use your grab first, right?
Okay.
So for just why that is let's say for example the enemy team Zarya uses her grab first, and which she did. Now this is an example. This is a situation where it didn't end up turning out too poorly for you, but you now only have 3 people alive, which will mean that you probably won't be able to win this next fight. You're so that it is. If you had used it earlier, you probably could have won it with more people. But the thing is, basically, think of it this way: when they use grab first, that means that now they're getting picks off of grab, they're getting kills, they're getting damage in, right? And that means that that grab, or that now that their whole team, right, is now at a player advantage, right? We've talked about that, right? Player advantage,
Yep.
watching kill feed. Now they're at that player advantage, and now if we use grab after that point, our grab is going to get less value because they already have the advantage. We have less players and we have less follow up for the grab, right? So the later in a fight we use our ultimates, most of the time it's going to get less value. So preferably there, if we're not trying to, another thing we could have looked to do there is maybe counter the blade with a grab, and solo grab the blade. But if we don't do that, then we just want to make sure that we're using our ult faster so that we can get more value out of the ultimate.
Just like quickly on that.
Good?
Say like an example like Nano Reinhardt or something you can see is about to go tearing through your team.
Yeah.
Is it too bad of an idea to just like solo grab him so he can't get any value out of that? Or
So it depends. So a Reinhardt's slightly different than a Genji. So kind of two things on that. So first off, it depends on if you see, like you said, he's tearing through your team, right? Is he an active threat, right? Is he about to kill your whole team if you don't grab him? If you do grab him,
yeah,
then yes, you're saving your team, right? Now, let's say he's too far away from your team, right, to actually start running on them, and you can just kind of kite backwards and run away from him. Then that's maybe a situation where the grab isn't needed. The
say
issue.
like
Go ahead.
yeah, right, sorry. Like for example, like Temple of Anubis, that room, like when you're defending the room on the right there. Say like your whole team's in there, and Ryan gets nanoed in that little open spot he's about to come in. Like I would grab and stop him there so he didn't run through everyone. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um,
It. I personally would say it really depends on the
Situation.
situation, because
Yeah.
with that grab you're not really going to get much out of, you're most likely you're not going to get a kill out of that unless you have something in the combo with it, or you have some way to melt the Reinhardt. Reinhardt has 500 HP and he has a, what is it, like 1700 HP shield, so it's very unlikely that, and he also has nano boost, right? So it's very unlikely that if you land that grab you're going to get any value out of it. And just quite frankly, if you're comparing the value that Grav gets to a nano boost, Grav is a much more powerful ultimate, so you would be
Okay.
wasting
Yeah.
your ultimate in that case,
Yeah.
usually. Unless unless like there's some situations where, like, you have to use that Grav, maybe it's last fight, maybe let's say like you just have 6 ultimates on your team. Well, you stopping the Reinhardt opens up for the rest of those 5 ultimates to being used, right?
Sure.
So it's gonna be like, there's no hard, like in Overwatch there's never
Fast
gonna be a,
level.
yeah, in Overwatch there's never gonna be a hard answer. Usually it's situational. But on a Genji that becomes much more valuable most of the time, because a lot of the time he's gonna have a nano, right? So if you're grabbing a nano blading Genji, that's you stopping 2
Always.
ultimates,
Yeah.
and that is getting, most of the time, even if he has nano or not nano, that's guaranteeing pretty much 1 kill. He's most likely going to die to that grab, unless, maybe his teams, you're grabbing him like when he's in the middle of his team. But then at that point, like if he has team protection, you probably got the rest of his team in there too, right? So most of the time, grabbing a Genji is gonna get you a lot of value. Maybe less so when he doesn't have the nano boost on him, but I still think it is a pretty decent play here. But the big thing here was just we wanted to use it earlier.
Yep.
Oh, didn't mean to do that. Pay attention to kill feed. as well as just check behind you. What's the problem of our play here?
I'm way too far forward.
Yep.
Way too far forward.
Yep, right. They're all coming out because they have the closer spawn point, right? Preferably what we do here is we kind of push card up a little bit, maybe get it up to like here, and then we just back up and wait for our team to get back. Because essentially right now, since they have a closer spawn, they're gonna be coming out and it's gonna be a 6v3. Right? So we can't push forward here because we're just gonna end up getting picked. So in this situation, we want to make sure that we're looking to back up. Here we push way too far forwards, and then that might result in us just staggering ourselves. Okay, now we backed up, which is a little bit late. That's a situation where it's a classic. Just because a mistake isn't punished doesn't mean it's not a mistake. At lower ranks,
100%.
At lower ranks, people aren't going to be able to punish those mistakes as hard. But let's say you're 500 SR higher, anything like right. If you climb a couple hundred SR higher, you're now more likely to get punished for that. And we want to always be playing as if we're playing at a higher rank, because otherwise you're never going. If you're not changing your habits and your gameplay, you're never going to get to that higher rank.
Yeah.
Consider different, focus fire rate. Again, with our words aren't working. With our priority
Yeah.
targets here, priority target, right? We're focusing too hard on the Zarya again, and the Zarya just ends up getting pocketed through it all. Now that's fine, right? Now what was the difference between the last fight here, where we're shooting at Zarya this time, versus when we just killed her? Can you maybe identify what the difference is? Being maybe speed it up by a little bit.
Basically she was didn't have a team with her. She was pretty much on her own.
Yep. So the difference is here she has her team. There it was only you shooting at her. Now she's a lot further forward. She has less team support, and you have more than just you shooting at her, right? Because she's kind of in the front line there. So now we have our team, all of our team focusing, all right. If we like kind of look at kind of different perspectives here.
Myra Junkrat, yeah.
Oh, Junga's not looking at her, but we are. Baptiste is, I'm pretty sure. So I guess let's come back here. So we have more people shooting at her, and Junkrat's the one who kills her. Pretty sure, or he does a big chunk of damage there, right? So because we have more people shooting at her, she ends up dying. And anytime something dies faster, that's always going to be good for us, because that means that they have less time to get away, less time to get healed, less time to use tanking abilities. That's why the higher up in ranks you go, it's just or even in team environments, common callouts that you'll hear is just people repeating a character's name. Because if you get team focus, right? If you can get 5 people to look at one person and kill that person, well, then we can burn Zarya through the amount of healing that they have, and then move on to the next person, and then burn that person, then burn the next person, right? And it's much more efficient than everyone looking at their own thing. So that is just something else that you can think about, especially as you get higher and higher through the ranks. Is that something you can consider is calling the thing that you're shooting at? A lot of times Zarya is a really good target for that, because you're on the front line, you have a whole lot of damage, so you can just go you just call out the character that you're shooting at. Zarya, Genji, right? Whenever you're swapping these targets, you just call out their name over and over and over again, and then your teammates will be able to follow up and shoot at that person, because now they're thinking that kind of they all know that you're looking to shoot them. Yeah, focus it.
Yeah.
Yep, good tracking. Try not to focus the hog too much here, because he's just gonna get
Yeah, I could have saved. I could have saved Ash there if I was a bit quicker.
Yep, it's not just about reaction times though, right? It's not just about am I fast enough to see the hook coming and then bubble. It's not just about the reaction time, it's about predicting that he's looking for a hook, right? Hog has hook, I believe, on a what is it, a 6-second cooldown? Let's see, what is it?
Yeah,
it's 8-second cooldown, right? So if we know Hog has hook and he's getting aggressive, right, and he's pushing forwards, we should be under the impression to ourselves that any moment he's looking for a hook. So when we're prepared for him to be about to hook something, then now, because we already know it's coming, our reaction time is pretty much just already doubled. And because we are already paying attention to him, all we have to do is just look to the left real quick, right, and get that bubble off. But when we're not paying attention to it and not thinking about, oh, Hog's looking for bubble, or sorry, the Hog's looking for hook, then that means that it's now purely reliant on our reaction to the fact that he's hooking, right?
Yep.
Which means that that's just gonna be very, very difficult, because he's gonna get that kill in about a second, right? So instead of having the reaction time after he's hooked, try to have the kind of the pre-thought, the plan in our head that when he hooks, I'm bubbling, he's looking for hook soon.
Ready for battle. This will restore you.
Okay. Again, look at where teams is at. They have the advantage in this fight. Probably want to be looking to back out here and just group up. We don't want to end up dying with our energy here again. It's much better to get out with 90 energy, so that we're coming to the next fight at high energy already. And that means that we can use more of our bubbles for tanking and ultimates, rather than just kind of wasting them on getting our energy back up. Okay. Out in the open, look to back up to the right side here, not to the left side,
Yeah.
because if we back up to this angle, they just can push us and kill us. Backing up to the right side puts us with where our team's at. It allows us to back up to and regroup with our team. Here we just kind of back up the wrong angle, push too far out in the open, and again we end up staggering ourselves. So that's going to be a really, really big note, is whenever fights are lost, and make sure you're paying attention to kill feed, we're looking to get out if possible. And if we don't think that we can get out, right, let's say we're in the middle of it, they're a whole enemy team or whatever, right, we're in a really bad position, then we look to die as fast as possible. Because if we don't do one of those two things, we end up dying super late, and we end up staggering ourselves, and then now we're coming out. That does two things. First off, that's wasting time. Second off, we come out of spawn, and our whole team's up here, and then now, because they're trying to push in when they only have 4 people, they're starting a fight 4v6, and then they might end up getting picked off, and then that starts a stagger train, right, where we're kind of doing a loop-de-loop, and we stagger, then they stagger, then we stagger, then they stagger, right? So we want to make sure that we're not staggering by paying attention to when fights are won and lost, and then getting out. Not to mention that Zarya is also a very, very... Zarya's unique in the fact that she especially doesn't want to get staggered or die, because that's wasting a lot of valuable energy, right? And we talked about that, is like
Sure.
getting out at high energy is so much better. Alrighty, so fight's already lost. Just look to back up here. Oh, no reason to peek back forwards. Alrighty, make sure you're just full backing up. Peeking back forwards just gets us killed there, right? And then staggers us again. Make sure we're fully backing up. We don't even need to do damage here, because look, we have our ultimate already, right? So damage isn't even necessary at that point.
Give me your best shot. Bring it. Огонь по готовности.
Okay, good decent grab.
Push forward.
What is
Огонь по готовности.
the issue? Why don't these guys die? Is my question.
The rest of the team's not really. They haven't really come with me to sort of take advantage of the grab, and I've stepped back just after the Genji blades.
Right. So, we toss out a grab, and nobody on our team is in line of sight of it. Right. So, first, the kind of big thing is we just need to be aware of the fact of where our team is positioned. And then on top of that, like if we know that our team's not in the fight yet, we can't grab immediately, because then that means that the grab runs out, and now nobody's even in range to shoot at it, right? So that's the big issue with the grab. Now, like I was saying, we want to be using it early, but if it's too early to where our team can't follow up on it, then nothing's going to end up dying. So we need to have a nice little middle balance. And then on top of that, we could also look to maybe grab the Genji here, and then now he doesn't get any swing value. And then on top of that, if we just grab him like basically on top of Baptiste here, we probably get Monkey in that too, right? So we're countering Blade, getting 2 kills, right?
Yep.
So really got to focus on the grab usage, because that is one of the bigger kind of ability or ultimates, right? Yeah, it's probably the most powerful aspect of your kit, right? Grab is in one of the most powerful ultimates in the game, and it's kind of insane, right? So we need to really need to make sure we're focusing on using it correctly. Okay, we used bubbles pretty poorly in the last fight, so now we're starting off this fight with 0 energy. Right, gotta focus on that bubble usage, so we're not being 0 energy this whole fight. Focus on the Mercy, who's out in the open and half HP, over the monkey was or it's a difference
Healthy
between
monkey.
887 HP versus 120 HP, right?
Yeah, and I got no charge.
Right? So focus the Mercy, not the monkey, right? Focus on those easier targets to kill. And then we're on the Hog, who's being pocketed by Mercy, has the self-healing, 600 HP, right? When Mercy's just kind of chilling there on the side angle, Baptiste is just chilling there on the side angle, right? How easy would it be for us to just go boop and look to the side, boop, look to the side, right? These guys are in our line of sight, they're within our damage range, yet we're focusing the things that are going to be the hardest to kill and are, quite frankly, just not going to get us as much value, because if we kill the supports, now the tanks just become easier to kill, right? We kill the supports,
Yeah.
and now the tanks fall so much easier. We try to focus the tanks and nothing ends up dying. Alrighty. So,
Victory.
let's see. We have 6 minutes left. So,
Oh, you're right.
no,
Oh, you're right.
what? I was just saying we have 6 minutes left, so I'm thinking of what to do for the rest of this. I'll do a quick little demonstration, and then we can move on to kind of a review of everything we've gone over. So when it comes to No Man's Land, right? We'll go over the No Man's Land note here.
Yep.
Sometimes you will have to push past No Man's Land, right? So if we let's say points all the way over there, right? We can't just chill here, because then we just don't make any space. Sometimes you have to go through the No Man's Land. So when we have to go through this No Man's Land, we want to make sure we're moving from one piece of cover to the next piece of cover. So rather than just waltzing down main here, where we're taking a bunch of damage, right? Instead, we want to go and do this, where we're waltzing from here, crossing over, and coming to this cover, right? We can wait a little bit to get healed for our ability to get back, right? And then we can push again. And this time we're going to this bit of cover, right? So when we're pushing through that No Man's Land, we're going from one bit of cover to the next bit of cover. Now, when it comes to holding No Man's Land, we don't want to hold at the very front of it. So let's say, let's say again, same example. That's point, right? This is where they're coming in from. If we're holding here, that means that this does two main things. First off, this is negating the purpose, the advantage that No Man's Land gives us, to where now, since we're holding here, they don't have to push through No Man's Land, right? We've already discussed how No Man's Land is a very good part where that we can spam at them so easily, and they can take so much damage because they have to push through this open area. And we hold at the front of this No Man's Land. That means that now they don't take any damage, right? Because, or they're not any damage, right? They take a lot less damage because they're not having to walk through that. The second thing is, now, for us to back up, we have to walk through that No Man's Land, right? We have to walk backwards through that. So we're putting them at the advantage and putting ourselves at the disadvantage, whereas we could have this flipped back if we're holding, per se, like back here, right? We're holding back here, and now we're spamming at them the whole time that they're walking in here, and then we engage them right around here when they're getting close to us, right? Rather than all the way up there, right? It's the kind of the same thing with a choke point, right? If we're holding next to the choke point here, so if, let's say this is this choke, right? This is the choke. If we're holding right here, they don't have to walk through the choke. They can just sit on that side and spam at us and shoot at us, and they never have to walk past, right? Where that means that now we're putting, them at we're basically not getting the advantage that we could otherwise have, right? So that's gonna help them out and not really do much for us, right? And then of course you don't want to push past the choke point either. A good example of this is probably going to be Eichenwald first point. So let's go to Eichenwald real quick, and you can see the positioning. So of course I'm not gonna do a I don't want
No,
to
you're right.
lump you in with a stereotype here, but from what I've seen from coaching people and even just playing at lower ranks myself, is lower ranked players think that it's a good idea to hold right here. Now, the reason why you don't hold right here is because we negate both the choke and the no man's land, right? Big, long no man's land right here, right?
Yep.
Choke point right here. If we hold right here, that means that they don't have to walk through choke to come to us, and they don't have to walk through the no man's land to come to us. And for us to back up, we have to walk all the way back through the no man's land. So instead, we want to hold here at the end of this no man's land. They're forced to funnel through the choke, forced to come through the no man's land, and while we just spam them from a distance, and then if they decide to go right side, we can just meet them right side, and boom, they're in another choke point, right? So that's just an example of the things I'm talking about with the no man's land and the choke points as well.
So yeah, I would normally hold where the car is there, like on the left.
This one,
Yeah,
I'd probably recommend the
somewhere
right
around
side.
there.
A little bit better because you just you back up to point, right? Versus
Yeah,
where
sure.
do you go if you're right here?
You're stuck
we
if
have
you're
to
gonna go left.
we have to go
yeah.
we have to go through this open area.
Yep.
Alrighty, so I'm going to end the recording here.